Well, you know me, the religion comes first, the label comes after. Well, speaking of which,
Yes.
um, apropos moment for that, we are currently sort of in media res in that we have come to the original site of Green Rock, which, as I've shown you before, bears a startling resemblance to Black Rock from the Shadows on the Border, and is somewhat overgrown, but still surprisingly recognizable as a former village, um, as if some semblance of habitation and use were still present, um, despite their ramshackle and overgrown and beat up and, you know, unused, relatively unused. Um, so although the orchards and stuff are not really bearing fruit or they're not being cultivated, you can still tell that that's what they once were. Same thing for a lot of the buildings. Now, as for the more general geography, the back of the site of the village is a fairly extensive, distinctive cliff that seems to be composed mainly of some form of natural jade. Um, so it's not, smooth, polished, tooled, ornamental jade. It's as it appears in nature, which is basically a very, very rough rock, but colored. It's green. You can see why it gets its name, Green Rock. It's an irregular cliff. It's not just straight up and down like a wall. I talked about the tumble of scree down one side, and I talked about I think some of the ledges and cracks and caverns that are evident, so that you could go up this thing. It's not. I mean, if you picked your way carefully, it's not just you. You don't have to be a human fly. Some of it is sheer. Some of it you would have to scale or just couldn't get up. But that's only sections. So everybody got kind of the picture of what we're looking at. Um, as for uh, what you will encounter or see, um, tell me what you. Let's review who's there. We have Benry's father. We have the three of you. You have Vakia, and you have the Stickman. And uh, at the moment, this slight spookiness, particularly this sort of uh, beaten up but disturbingly slightly still in place aspect of the village is really what you're looking at. Some other things that you don't really have to make scan rolls to see is that a number of the buildings have um, little dolls tied to them, either like tied to a fence post or tied to the side of the remains of a door or something like that. And the dolls are very, very crude, not much more than uh, tatters of rag and sort of stems of plants folded and refolded to make a mass, um, and with, sort of shaped clay heads, which have two qualities. One is they're extremely basic construction. They are not made in any way that is very impressive. It's as though somebody unskilled or childish had made these heads. And they are not like fired in a kiln. They look like they're baked dry, but not particularly, they're not glazed or anything like that. The other aspect of these dolls is that despite everything I just said, something about them is genuinely accurate. Each one of them is immediately recognizable as a member of your village. You can look right at one of those and you know exactly whom it's depicting. When Matthew was mouthing noiselessly, he was attempting to ask if any of the weird little figurines were his family members. And the answer is no. In
Okay.
fact, everybody that you're looking at there is somebody who is currently walking around in the village.
So my mum could be there, but not my missing father and
Correct.
sister. Yeah.
Absolutely correct.
Okay.
And so yes, it seems to be some sort of totemic or
Yeah.
sympathetic magic representation of Green Rock Way.
Okay.
And if you were to go looking for yourself, as Binri no doubt is, you would not find yourself there.
No, you do.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah.
And are they being, I was going to say interface with, that's a bit of a technical term, but are they being, is there evidence of them being touched or manipulated in some way over time? Given you said there's sympathetic magic, they're using, like voodoo dolls or that kind of thing?
That's called detect magic.
Ooh.
Pretty sure I don't do that.
Find out what I've got to remind myself my battle magic spells.
I hesitate. I just say I look for tracks because even though I'm a hunter, that may be weak, but I could try it.
Well, the first thing to do then is better for me to ask, what do you do? Binri's checking out his approximate place of residence because the correspondence isn't perfect. Green Walk was, of course, not laid out identically to what Green Rock Way is now, but there's enough correspondence that somebody seems to have tried to set it up sort of similarly, that that you can find yourself. There's a little doll that's you. And
One for
I beg your pardon?
One for my dad too, I assume.
Correct. And you have
And so,
both parents, yeah.
So
and then
certainly gesture him over to come.
Right.
Look, it's us. It's us.
And so then Matthew?
Yep.
What were you going to do?
Well, I guess now if you're not, I mean, my first thought was, could I get my missing family members back? So now I can't. I guess I'm probably quite keen, to get control of my own figurine. So probably a bit like Binri, I'm going to be looking for myself.
Got it. No problem.
Yeah, I think it gives me any protection in some way.
Right. And so then Ian.
So I'm going to look for tracks. I want to have a look for activity, see what's been going on here. I'll try that first.
Make a roll.
I think, I'm trying to be the hunter.
Right.
But obviously probably I will fail miserably and do something else.
Ian, any of your shamanic skills would be probably the spirit lore one would be the one to roll for you. Oh, sorry, for Matthew.
Okay, cool. So that's 30 for me, spirit lore.
Yeah.
Should I roll track at the same time, Ron? Or?
Yes.
So wait.
I'm expecting a tracking roll and I'm expecting a spirit lore roll at this time.
Sadly, I find no tracks.
Matthew?
I didn't quite get it. 35 skill, 30.
Right. Okay. Well then.
No, I was 85 skill 15, so I wasn't even in the ballpark.
All right. Here we are then. We have been, poking about. I should tell you that it's been a long day. You've been through one fight already. You've come through a fair piece of travel to get to Green Rock. So it's getting late in the day, is what I have to say. The sun is well past its zenith and the shadows are getting long. Okay,
so maybe I'll turn to back here and say, "Hey, why don't I set up some sort of camp?" There are buildings here, right, that we think look reasonably intact.
Right. I mean, not in great shape, but there are a couple that there are some that you could conceivably stay in.
Yeah,
Obviously
I mean, I
not
guess
furnished or anything.
what is it? I can't remember. Is it springish, Ron? Is it?
Yes, it is, as a matter of fact.
So it's coldish at night, but whether we need a fire or not, I don't know.
The default on everybody's mind would be that you would need a fire, but but at this point there's a bit of a conference. First, June will point out that her parents' dolls are still there, which would imply that the the exact correspondence is not. I mean, it's not an exact correspondence because they had left.
Right.
So so that's one thing. I mean, it's not as though they appear and disappear or something when you step foot outside of Green Rock Way. So that's a little bit of deduction that you can do. Second, that it is the people who are not native to this area, so that's Vakia and the Stickmen, are less interested in poking about, this particular village and seeing how it relates to you personally. They're much more interested in the sort of larger tactical situation. And they are, it's very clear. I mean, they, Vakia is talking to them. She comes back to you guys and says, I have a terrible time understanding them sometimes. They don't think like us, and I can't quite get a straight answer from them about what they expect us to do. But we do know that, and she points, is really where the action is, and she's pointing at a particularly sinister, dark cave in the cliff face, or opening in the cliff face. She says that's,
what's in there, Vakia?
As far as I can tell, Carva.
And the stickmen want to confront her?
Well, they came to help me do that, and they seem prepared. I don't mind telling you that is, it's that's the darkness. I mean, that's really that's some serious divine power there that we would just be like walking straight into. They though, by the way, the stickmen seemed to have activated in some strange way with lights. They actually have lights that shine off their bodies from like little tiny not pinpoints, but little tiny buttons that gleam and therefore project little beams of light about. So it's not dark yet, so it's more like the piece there, like a flashlight looks in the daytime. At first, and when the light is bright enough, it just looks like it's glowing. But then as it gets darker and darker, it's actually casting light relative to the ambient light. So you're right at that transition now. It's starting to get dark enough so that light that they have is actually starting to provide light. However, it's a little weird. It's not like a steady glow because it changes with the movement of their bodies. So it's a little surrealistic to have this kind of light gleaming around in different directions.
Jonathan, I think will address Vikir, and he'll say, "Look here, I really, think we should find somewhere we can shelter and maybe we can defend." And my concern is when we were caught out last time in the open. This would I use the word shade, or would I have some different kind of word? What do you think? Or no word at all?
I suppose that there is a name for it. We'll call it a shade. Yeah.
Okay. This shade attacked all of us, and it was incredibly difficult to really fight against from our point of view. And I don't know what's going to happen tonight, but she's strong in darkness. And I think we need to create a defensible position. And I wonder if a fire would help us, or whether a fire will bring them on. Inside a building, we might be able to conceal a fire to keep us warm.
Or should we not come back at the dawn or high noon? Or
where else would we go? At least a shelter here. Or we could leave the village and try and camp in the woods. But would that help us?
It's a very
through the wilderness, isn't she? She's a goddess of the wilderness, isn't she? Not of the town.
Says Vakia. Do you remember at the trickster's camp?
I remember a bunch of things about the trickster's camp.
Do you remember what we saw in the morning? How they had put up the barrier against attack and all of the wreckage.
Oh, yes.
We don't have those defenses. We don't have we don't have rune magic of
we can't create that barrier.
Right. And if Carva and allies could project that kind of power to that location here in her center of power, we need to go on the attack. And day or night, it's always the true dark in there.
Okay.
She says, I came here for a reason. I see my path.
Is there a path
she wouldn't use that terminology. She would say, I'm no longer, what is it? This kind of reverse logic about how blindness is the truth. I don't know. She probably has a ritual phrase. She uses a ritual phrase. So,
is there a way in which you will survive going into the cave back here?
I have to put my trust in the light, and only one kind of one of the stickmen will say something almost completely incomprehensible, and Vakia will nod and say, "Yes, we need. I wish we had some too." She says, "We need we need some of the glow, but we don't have that either." Benry, make an intelligence check. Intelligence times 5. Which I don't think is necessarily your strong point, but
when you multiply something by 5, let's see. Intelligence times 5 is 50. 62 will not get the job done. No, it will not.
Bummer. All right. Now, she says, I'm going in. I mean, if we sit here, we will just simply get tormented by spirits. We'll be blinded in every possible. What she says, the darkness will descend upon us. It will, even with I'm not, I'm not a priestess. If I'm forced to see the darkness, that's all I'll be able to see. So
okay, so you're saying better for us to take the fight to them than to wait for them to come to us when they're prepared.
Maybe so.
Yeah. Well, and
go
Binry's thinking is actually going on. I mean, that's what we're here to confront this problem. That is why I came to this village. That's why I was hoping more of the village would be with us.
So I guess, is there anything we can do to improve the odds? I mean, they mentioned this glow. Is that something we can acquire or get hold of?
If it is what I think they're talking about, the travelers had some. It was part of the party we were at.
Okay.
But
oh yes,
typical, says Vakia. Using it to get high.
it did a good job. But
you do remember they gave it to you, right?
Yeah, but yeah, it's an awful small amount. He'll bring out the little piece that he has. I think it basically what it does is it gives him a POW point or something like that.
Well, yes, but it's glowy and it's light.
Yeah, but it's like the size of my fingertip. Showing it off.
The stickmen step to you so quickly and gracefully that it is almost menacing. And Vakia says, she just gives you a look and says, you just have a way of doing the right thing in the most, no, she sighs, says, nobody can blame you for how you do it, Benry. All right. And so your father actually at that point kind of snorts a little and, and sort of pretends that he hadn't made any noise. So and the only next thing I can say is that you will then be approached. A voice will come out of the darkness and say, a woman's voice will say, we can talk. We can talk. We should talk. It's Anna's voice.
Oh, wow.
And
okay.
She says, we can put it all. She says she doesn't know yet. We can settle things here.
So actually with that, Binry will kind of glance to see if he can find Aniv or even Joreen's doll in the
it's getting a little dark and you have to start poking around. I mean, do you really
okay. Never mind. If he doesn't,
but
he'll glance over there with that thought in his mind and say,
I just want to know
apparently there's other more important things going on.
Well, you can. I just wanted to know, do you want your character to go wandering off away from this particular group at this time?
No, not right now.
Okay.
He glances over there.
Let me know should that
this
ever
conversation is more important.
Let me know if it should occur to you to go wandering off.
Okay.
So,
I think Jonathan might speak to Aniv because I think part of this is his.
Yeah.
His confrontation with the cult, and he's confronted Joreen, and really Aniv was the person who introduced him. And he says,
"You feeling strong enough, Jonathan?"
Yeah. I say, I just want to speak to him in a minute and say, well, how, you brought such ruin. You tried to kill so many, and I feel deceived that there was nothing but hate and violence. And I understood. I thought when you talked to me of the goddess of being the wilderness, of being, red in tooth and claw, of being us accepting the reality of nature. But to kill so many, that doesn't seem to have any sense to it. Nature doesn't kill with such fury when it doesn't need to eat. And how can you try to kill all the young people? Yoreen tried to kill everybody. You attacked the village. How can you make this good? Surely you went too far. We know this has been a place that has benefited from your protection, but perhaps the lack of any balance here has caused you to lose sight of the trade-offs.
Adar, he's referring to your father, Benry.
Yeah.
Adar, you know far more than this child. You know that I am the one who has kept any balance here. You know what happens if Black Car is unleashed upon the region. She says, what's one boy? What's one spirit-addled boy against all of us? What's one? He and his family aren't even from our village. Who cares? That's all we needed to do.
But you did so much collateral damage. So many others were killed.
You speak of nature's moderation. That's what happens when she is awoken. That's what happens when we do not maintain the proper observances. Now what have you done? I can talk to her. I can go and talk to Carva. I can tell her what she needs to hear, like I've been doing all these years. I can go in and I can tell her what she needs to hear. And when she unleashes her power, it will be upon whom I choose.
Are we with Jonathan, or are we standing back from this run at the moment?
At the moment, you guys are more or less clustered, I think.
Okay.
And right, and Vakia says, that's her. Remember a couple episodes ago, she said, "I know who to kill."
Yeah.
Right. Just that's her, and starts striding toward Oniv. And although you can't really see Oniv, I mean, she's back there in the dusk, and so let's see. Anybody want to say anything, or?
I think Alcaton will follow Vakia slight distance, but he'll kind of try and support her as much as he can. I think he's got no love lost for Oniv.
I think Binri will actually kind of look at his dad and that's, well, I'm sure June is already following Vakia because that's what it seems like June would do.
Probably, right.
But what he will say is, I think one way or another, Oniv is not the one who will communicate with this Carva anymore. I think we have to confront Carva ourselves.
Yeah.
And apparently we may need to go through Oniv to make that happen.
Yeah, and how do we know if what Oniv says about what the goddess wants through Carva is true?
Yeah, we can't trust her as an intermediary. No, I think that's exactly right.
I think at this point, Jonathan feels that if Nakia kills Oniv, she's got everything she deserved.
Yeah, we can step aside on it, I think. But yeah.
Yeah, and so a little bit behind, but kind of catching up with the rest of them. Following along in there, maybe going ahead and calling out, we will now talk with Carva directly. Mm-hmm. If it is our doom, so be it. We don't trust you to talk to her anymore.
Mm-hmm. Good one, Henry.
Mm-hmm. So as you the group of you move in this direction, the trouble is, of course, is that you're talking about some ramshackle buildings and huts. You're talking about underbrush. You're talking about the fall of night. You're talking about some unfamiliar terrain where you actually have to. This is fairly irregular terrain. It's not just a flat plain.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there are things like boulders that form literal walls that you have to go around to get places. So
loose rock.
Right. So, well, you're not quite at the point where you're actually scrabbling on the cliff face yet, but yes, I mean, it's not as though there's Oniv like right there. Vakia is going in the direction of the voice. Now, so the first thing to do is for everybody to make listen rolls.
Okay.
51 won't do the job.
Ooh, 24 will do us.
All right, then.
Got it.
Right, Matthew or Ian?
She'll get a check. If I survive, I might even get to make some experience.
Did you get some? Did your listen succeed as well, Ian?
It did. 24. Right. Yeah.
Okay. You have a pretty good lock on where the voice is coming from, and it is actually toward the cliff. Therefore, probably near the base or access to where some of the trails or pseudo trails are accessible. And so, just letting you know, that's where the voice is coming from. Vakia is kind of casting about, and if either of you gives an indication as to where it might be, then she will, break into a trot. The bow is extremely unhelpful. It's not a good weapon for this moment, so she has her sword out instead. And she kind of looks back, back and forth to see who's with her. And let's see.
I'll certainly gesture towards the voice, yeah. And she looks back.
Right. Okay, so excellent. Well, in that case, her power is that. In that case, Binri, you're going to get attacked with a spell. Your power is pretty high, right?
Yeah, I actually have a 17 power.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So, wait, no, it wouldn't be. Would it be you? You're the one the reason I picked you was you're the one who killed Jodney, but I think I've got a better target. Jonathan, what's your power?
11.
Right. A little better.
I'm an average man. Hey.
And a more logical target, the more I think about it.
Yeah, the cult hates me, so.
Right.
Yeah, they always go for the apostates first, don't they?
And I can't remember who it was that.
In line with our excellent rolling this evening, a blast of power hits you from the darkness, but you, surprisingly enough, resist it.
Yay.
Which actually is a little bit of a dramatic moment for you. You actually feel the
Yeah.
power of, of the magic hit you, and then you kind of grit your teeth, and it suddenly washes over you and is gone, and you feel fine.
Wow.
Right.
Hey,
The confidence.
you know what I'm doing? I'm standing up to these people.
That's right. Did I miss what somebody was about to do a second ago?
Don't think so. I just said a gesture to Vakia about the source of the voice. That's all.
Right.
I think
Yes.
at the moment.
Yeah. And then I was just going to check. So Binri's thinking what I'm having Binri's thinking be is that actually, if it were up to him, he might, talk to Anav and explain to her that, we're not going to trust you as the intermediary anymore. And, you stop that magic blasting. But his thinking is nothing's going to stop Vakia. So why bother?
Right. Right.
And so I'm just double checking that would be a completely reasonable thought for him to be having is Vakia's going to do what she's going to do. There's no point in even really talking to Anav right now.
Okay. Well, the important thing for you to understand as you get to the base of the cliff or the area where it's irregular enough that you're going up with any significant move is that Anav isn't there, or that as far as you can tell, she seems to have zapped and fled, or otherwise vanished. The only, let me think. Sorry, I'm really. That's sort of an interesting noise coming from somebody. Is that sneezing or a child?
Oh, it's my daughter's sneezing. Sorry.
No, it's okay. I was just hoping nobody was. Hoping all was well.
I thought maybe somebody was dying somewhere off camera.
Are you dying, Matilda? You okay?
Huh?
You dying? If you want to know, they heard you sneeze. She looks all right.
Okay. Oh, good.
Good for her.
Yeah.
She just got hay fever.
Oh,
She's telling you.
I hear.
The downsides of spring in Britain.
Yeah.
Well,
most places.
You guys kind of got me a little bit. I'm thinking.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. All right. Anav is not immediately evident, but again, I hate to be so repetitive, but well, consider you guys made your listen rolls. You guys have already, you can hear that there's some scrabbling and steps further up. So it's clear that she's retreating up the cliff face. At that point, or knowing where to look, go ahead and make scan rolls. Vakia is about to make it too. And I'll do one for June.
Yeah. 35. Oh no, I've had all my luck already now.
09. I'm doing well.
Oh, flipping
There
heck,
she
41.
is. Jonathan.
Not me.
There she is.
Right.
My roll.
Can I basically try and pick her up with my sling?
Yes. It's a bit of a shot, but yes.
Just give it a go. Is she moving from cover to cover, or do I think I'd have long enough to prepare my speed dart first and then hit her with a sling stone? Or do you think is there a kind of snapshot?
You've got a lock on her, if you will, with a successful listen and a successful scan. So you could step up, keep proceeding, and kind of keep your perception locked on her as you're busy preparing the speed dart. It's only a few seconds.
Right, I will do that
because
that gives me quite a bit of a bump.
All right, but it's this is everybody can tell you're doing it. one look at you, and it's probably clear that you've kind of got that, bird dog attention on something. And
Yeah.
so everybody else is kind of peering and trying to see what you see. But they also
Right.
realize you're up to something. They understand you're about to sling something, and they're not going to like interfere. Nobody's going to like jostle you or like shove your shoulder or
Yeah.
mess up your spell or something like that. Everybody knows what you're up to. So,
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
go ahead.
definitely. If I manage to pick up whatever it is he's tracking, I might try something, but
Right.
at
Well,
the
the way I
moment
see it in
I
this
don't
kind of
see it.
terrain and situation, as the dark is more rapidly falling, is that you're going to have to hit with a listen before I'll give you the scan. That was my
Yep.
logic throughout.
So I'm completely
right. Well, you're like
Binri
everybody
is
else.
not
You're all
tracking
doing
it.
this. Yeah. Wait. Where? What? Okay. He sees it. Go for it. So what happens, Ian? Do we
Right,
have a
I'm
roll?
just looking up I'm just trying to look up speed dart to remind myself of it's 15%, isn't it? Anyone remember off the top of their head?
Not off the top of my head, although I do have the book right here.
Oh,
As
well,
I
that'll be helpful because I was trying to track mine down.
as he bumps his camera and computer, as I understand it, it's a 1 point spell and it's a 15% and plus 3 damage.
Yep, cool. All right, so
Very
that gives
straightforward.
me right, so that gives me a 65% chance.
It's a pretty good
And
chance.
I get a 29.
Oh, you're on fire.
Roll me a hit location.
That'll be in 15. That's an arm, isn't it? I think.
I can always double check. And
15 is the right arm.
yeah, lots of arms get hit in this game. So go ahead and give me your
Damage would be 1d8 plus 3, which will be 10. Wow. Slings are nasty.
They really are. Yeah. Well, 10 damage to an arm is actually quite severe.
Yeah, we knocked it
and
off.
she's you definitely broke her arm. There's no question there. So there is a scream of agony from where you struck, and everybody knows where it is. And once you know where it is, it's pretty easy to see her staggering, going to one knee, and heading on up. Let's see. So yes, as you guys close, are you guys going to close in on her? Is that the plan?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'll save any magic at the moment, but I'm happy to close in on Eve. Yeah.
All right. And so let's. I imagine there's something of a rush to get up there, and it's uncertain as well. So let's see how you do in terms of traversing difficult terrain. So, what roles would be involved for that?
There's a climb skill. I mean, it could be climb.
It's kind of climb. I mean, it's this isn't technical climbing. This is just like roaming in difficult
scrambling, whatever. Yeah.
This is roaming.
Could just do a dex
to make sure.
Yeah, dex times 3 or 5. Yeah.
Yeah, dex times 3.
Roll, yeah.
This is going to be times 3, I think.
Okay, I'm very non-dexterous.
Right.
So dex times 3 we're going for.
Yep. And if you get your dexterity or lower, then I'll give you an improvement check on it.
Yeah, no success from Binri.
73. I got a good dex as well, but that's out.
Okay, so you guys basically stumble and scrabble all over the place. And however, Vakia makes a good roll. And June does not. So the stickmen seem to be guided by their lights quite nicely, so they actually walk up without any difficulty with the terrain, striding swiftly. The trouble is that the lights are real hard for you guys to process and use as a light source. They evidently help them quite a bit, but the fact that they point in different directions and change direction all the time, given the
Right,
motions of their
yeah.
bodies, is just like really, it's more like a big, huge problem, screwing up your ability to focus on things and let your eyes adjust rather than illuminating. Although from a bit of a distance, they do have more, the general effect is more illumination in the area that they're in. So as they get farther away from you, you can see more of what they light up from a distance better than when they were right next to you and like flashing and shit, like right in your face. So, so as you can see in the light that they cast, which is by no means gentle or stable or glowy, and more like all this fucking jump around light, you can see that Vakia has broken into a fairly fast trot now, and June, like you know, has tripped over something. At least one of you is prone at this point. And everybody else is kind of cursing and thrashing and trying to get up there and having trouble just making it. I don't know if you ever tried to go up a mountain in the dark. It's a bitch. And every little thing catches your feet and, you know, gives you a big problem. So
Yeah, and of course, Binri is still trying to carry this big shield with him, so
yeah,
making it especially hard.
Yeah, you are encumbered, of course. And so yeah, you guys aren't quite getting up there. But what will happen? Oh, nice. Okay. What will happen is a horrifying, rending crack noise. There is a discharge, I suppose, of magic that's really like very little you've ever felt or experienced. Perhaps perhaps you have memories of it that this reminds you of. But the nature of the magic is vastly different from anything you've ever wielded, and is and the cracking noise from the very rock of the mountainside is overwhelming. A huge piece actually cracks off of the mountainside and starts to, at first slowly and then very swiftly, tumble down, and right onto where Vakia is running, and where there's one of the stickmen, or one or two of the stickmen are backing her up, and
Look out!
yes. Well, given that, man, I am just rolling real bad. Wow. Okay, what you just saw is a rune spell called Crack, which is the one rune spell that Aniv knows, that she had sacrificed for as an initiate of and she just used it on the cliff face, which is actually pretty intelligent, if I do say so myself. And as it has no power to resist the spell, so she doesn't have to roll. And so by doing that, she cracked off a huge piece of the cliff face to crash down. And as an kind of an area attack, it's therefore nothing that can be parried or anything like that. All you can do is make some kind of defensive roll, for which Vakia just rolled a 90.
Oops. Thought you were rolling badly for Oni for a minute, I hoped. Can the stickmen jump in the way and protect her or something?
Well, one of
Would
them,
they?
yeah, one of them rolls extremely badly and is caught, you know, immediately by one of the fragments that knocks him around, and the other one rolls quite well. And I think it's going to have to be a choice. All of a sudden, I have to role play this stickman a little bit carefully. It's going to have to be a roll. I'm going to see what. I'm going to see how. Well,
See how he reacts.
yeah,
How it
exactly.
reacts.
Yeah, exactly. I rolled a multiple of its intelligence, and it understood what to do. It sacrifices itself. It hurls her out
Wow.
and down toward you.
Great.
So she actually, it's a bad fall. I mean, she like tumbles down in the dark, and it's not like she's going to be unscathed. But the mountain, it's not the whole mountainside, but it's the boulder crashes down on the stick guys. One of whom doesn't escape, and one of whom has stayed in order to hurl her out of the way. So and so she, is contused and probably lost her sword and bouncing down the mountain toward you guys. Meanwhile, it's all is chaos. It's not an avalanche. A piece just cracked off, but a whole bunch of little pieces came with it. It shatters. The whole place is just shocking, for a little bit to manage. Your dad grabs you, Benry, and like pulls you away from it, even though you're both reasonably far away. And June.
And I undoubtedly
Right.
shelter us both behind my shield,
Yeah.
even though there's nothing really to shelter
Right.
from.
And June, who had actually fallen, like some of you had done with trying to struggle up at speed, had just been like eating dirt and really pissed that she hadn't been able to get up there. And so she like gets her face out of the dirt and is swearing just in time to see this and realize that if she'd been there, she would have quite likely been squished. So, yeah, she's funny. I didn't really expect to lose both of the stickmen, but I did. So, yeah, you guys,
Fewer allies now.
yeah. So,
The
and
list of-
Vakia is not, I mean, as I say, Vakia is not unscathed. This is not, you don't fall like that and take no damage. So, she's contused and stunned. So what do you do?
Can we help her? I guess could we close enough to help Vakia to her feet and recover her?
Yeah, you can get to her. Yeah.
Yes, I'll try and do that. I can obviously, if she's taken hit points of damage.
Yes.
I mean, it's not much use, but give her 1 point of healing if it's of any benefit. Is it pissing in the wind essentially?
Well, basically, yeah. I mean, she might even gesture and just say, forget it.
Okay, fine. So I'll just sort of physically help her up then.
Yeah.
While he's doing that, can I see if I can cast around for her sword? See if I can find
that's a good
someone.
idea. That would be either scan. That's a scan, not a track, I'm afraid. So, I mean, it's not like you can track it, right?
Right, exactly.
It doesn't leave footprints.
15. So that's against 30.
Yeah, there you go.
You roll for all of us, Ian.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I can try.
Yeah. Well, so you're being actually quite helpful. And so, yes, you managed to recover her sword, for which she is deeply grateful, and for just a moment grabs your forearm in kind of a solidarity grab. And so
I think Jonathan's feeling a little bit more self-confident than he has been before after the last couple of days. So I think he'll grip it firmly back.
Excellent.
And smile at her.
Yeah, fantastic. And so, and then everybody kind of looks simultaneously after kind of realizing that she's alive. Everybody kind of looks simultaneously up the slope, where you can see one of the stickman's lights still, kind of shining at a crazy angle of some kind. But not that that's any different from the crazy angles they already did. But it's not moving. If you got up there, you'll see that one of them is still alive, but has been sufficiently crushed that it's not going anywhere. The first one, who had failed to dodge, is demolished. And the so do you guys want to get up there and talk to it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Your father Adar will kneel next to the still functional stick man, and says slowly, it says, the metal is yours. The metal returns. What he's doing is promising that he's not going to loot the metal of the fallen stickman's body for human use.
Okay.
Right. And so the stickman then says to him a word, which is just simply yes. And then it will say to Vakia, "We are finished." She says, "Yes, thank you." So the nature of these interactions is a little puzzling to everybody else, because there's obviously 10,000 pounds of subtext and past history involved in some cases. But whatever story that was, the stickman is basically saying, "Okay, obligation, we're done." So,
What do we do? Do we drag him back down? What?
There's nothing. Your father says there's nothing we can do now. We need to go in. Who knows what she's going to go in and tell Karva?
Yeah, agreed.
I mean, and someone else says, "Can she even walk? Did you hear her scream? What? Is the she's Vakia says she has to be on her last leg. She has to be out on her feet. We need to overtake her." She says, "I don't know anything about Karva. You know more than I do," she says, looking at all of you. "You know more than I do. If you think you can talk to her, you can try. But it's clear." But she says, I am fully blinded now. Aniv dies. Karva is nothing to me."
It's difficult. We know that Carver became very powerful, but we also know that we've learned that these people were shielding her from reality or truth. Maybe if she is exposed to the truth of what has been happening, it'll be a different enough story that she will think differently about her actions.
Now remember, you've seen Karva, right?
I have, yeah.
Right.
Obviously, going by appearances, yeah. But
Well,
she was the one that sent the attack on Binri and what was his name?
Des.
Mm-hmm. Des.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'll mention that. I'll say, she was the one that sent the attack.
Mm-hmm.
I'll mention she was this kind of figure emerging from the swamp that seemed almost like a fantastical being herself, rather than necessarily human anymore.
On everything we know of Black Car fills me with dread. But
the only thing, although I turned my back on them because of their action, I do still wonder. There was one. That at some point the community has been protected by this. Maybe the price was too much. I don't know, but whether we entirely, say, is she just nature, or and as such, it is not malicious. and any more than nature is, and therefore we may be able to negotiate with her, or is she beyond that now?
Yeah,
But she seemed determined that. Right. And how do we know that she wanted Des to die, or she was told by others that what Des had been doing or whatever, effectively, and a difficult one. But,
yeah, about the only thing I'm certain of right now is I do want Aniv out of that equation. So
me too.
Let's help Vakia get up there.
Yeah, I agree.
Vakia will respond to your theology with one thing, and she'll put her face close to you in a almost like kind of way, and you'll see that her eyes are clouded over as if with some kind of cataract.
Mm-hmm.
And she looks to you and says, "We only know the gods through the people."
Mm.
We only know the people who serve them, if serve them is really what they do.
True.
And so
you speak truth.
And at that point, that's it. She's done talking. There's nothing, she limps. She's limping. She's, kind of breathing harshly and is moving on. June actually tries to support her a little bit, and then realizes that Vakia is not noticing. So June will look over her shoulder at Benry and say, "Come on."
Yep, that Benry is saying that to himself. Actually, let's get this part underway.
Your father is during this time has been preparing a lantern, and that actually is the first real light you guys have. So he's got a spear in one hand and a lantern in the other. The problem is that when you get to the cliff and the cave mouth, which is, as you realize when you get up there, way more utilized, way more, I guess, well, it's made very functional for human use. It's easy once you get up to that level to walk in. It's, somebody's altered the walls a bit so that it's supported. You're like, oh, somebody uses this. People have been using this. When you get there and go a little further in, first of all, it is not as stale. The air is not as stale as you might expect. You go in, but you're still breathing fresh air. So the immediate implication is that this is not like it's not like a dungeon tunnel that goes into the rock and is now completely rock sealed. It's more like there are tumbles of irregular rock and materials and growth it's almost more of a choke of material than it is a mass of material. The cliff face is quite solid where you're going through right now, but it's obviously you're not just tunneling into solid rock. I mean, you're all outdoors people. You all know walking in here, you're like, oh, well, this is open to the air in multiple spots.
And we've not beat on Eve to there. She's gone in ahead of us, has she?
Correct.
Into the darkness. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I guess we should move in quickly then to still try and catch up with her if possible.
Gordon, you with us?
Yeah, something strange has happened with my camera here. Let's see. There we go. Oh, it just turned off. Okay, good enough.
All right. Good.
So the actually, as we're hopefully have a few spare moments during this closing this distance and getting in there, Benry's going to do absolutely as best as he can. It'll actually be probably a visible tearing away from the immediacy of all this and turn to his father with anything you can tell us about Carva. We probably don't have too much time.
Good call. While we're going to have that dialogue kind of as we go.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
You may now pity me.
Really? We're walking into that? Oh.
Well, the way that I'm going to say this is that there's a couple of ways. And so as you traverse inward, the right now it seems to be just the rock that you're in. So it is like a cave, and if it weren't for the air and the freshness of the air, you might even think that you were going in and would stay entombed in rock through some sort of tunnel. But as you go and come to a place where there is a clear intersection between the slab of rock that you're walking through and another one just like it, forming an impassable wall. But but you can tell right about that point is when you realize that this is made of irregular pieces. Furthermore, that just past that juncture point is in fact a natural result of there being two massive pieces of this jade rock. This is all a very long way of saying that there's a passage to your right. And so you can either go that way, which is somewhat more narrow and a little tighter, a little more dangerous to walk on in terms of the irregularity, or on the part that you're on, which looks to be very well traversed.
And we can't tell which way Onive went. Either, maybe
at this point, a tracking roll would do it.
You up for helping us, Jonathan?
We'll try.
I've got track 15. I can.
When we say tracking roll, 38. My track is quite low. It's about 15%.
Oh, okay. Right then.
So, which one should we take? The narrow one, maybe.
I mean, yeah. The only thing you could have hoped for is that maybe there'd be a trail of blood or something from. But if there's nothing, then I guess we just pick a random.
We could try and think like Onive. Hurt?
Well, she's going straight to Kara, so whatever the most direct route she's going to take, or the easiest route. I mean, I guess if her arm's broken, that she's probably going to take the easiest path. She's not going to want to basically try and climb or squeeze through something. So she's going to take what would be the easiest path, surely. So what's the easiest of the two paths?
Oh, the easiest is quite clear. It's to continue straight.
Let's go that way.
Okay. Yeah.
If her arm's broken, I think that'd be the way you would go, right?
Yeah.
Don't shoot me fucking wrong there. Just a guess.
So yeah, Vakia had been sort of baffled at this point, and this interchange of discussion is backed up by other people, and so as you continue in, you'll find that you enter into an area which is open to the night at the top, but it's still almost pitch black, and that's way darker than it should be. I mean, dusk was falling, and by the time you had gotten up onto the cliff face and had the encounter with the boulder and everything, by the time you got up there, it had been getting dark enough that you had to kind of look, but there's no way it should be this pitch black when you come in. But you can tell from the air, from the presence of the openness that you're in, that you're more or less in contact with the outside. But there are still walls of rock, and there are still really, really thick underbrush and growth that effectively work as walls. But given the blackness, you're not able to see very well. In fact, Benry, your father, holds up the lantern, and everybody immediately realizes that something's wrong with the lantern. You can see it. You can see its own light, but the light is not cast.
Okay.
And in fact, so it's a little bit like kind of a glow stick, you can see the light that it makes, but it doesn't go anywhere.
Right.
And so, yes, there's, this place is enchanted as hell. There's a lot of darkness embedded into this. The under the ground is now more gravelly and uneven. At least one loose, how when you're walking and there's a loose stone and you kick it and it goes whoop, skitters way off because you accidentally gave it like a perfect toe kick. That happens to somebody. So,
big open area.
Yeah, not only that, but the floor. It's uneven. This is not a cave floor. This is. Gordon, you ever go to the Pinnacles?
Oh yeah.
Okay, you're in the Pinnacles, all right?
It works for me.
Sometimes it's a tunnel, sometimes it's open. It's jumbled boulders, but they basically form tunnels and walls. You know what I mean? So you come to an area that's actually more like a glen with like lots of plants and stuff, and it's open at the top. You can see the sky, but it's leaning boulders and stuff like that. That's what you're in. A whole lot of it.
Rock jumble caverns.
Right.
Go ahead and hold up my finger. The little glow from this stuff, does it behave any differently in here than the lantern does?
Yes, it does. Here is where this stuff comes into its own, and you guys can actually look around and get an idea of what this place is like. It's still dim, but you have the equivalent of torchlight. Without, for example, having to handle open flame. Nobody had suggested torches for a reason. It's idiotic. So, no, I am unaware under any circumstances in which people carried torches in one hand and conducted some sort of exploratory or military or combat action with the other. To my knowledge, this has never occurred. So, there's a reason your dad brought a lantern because that's what you use to see in the dark. So anyway, that little rant over, you're looking around, and it's fairly evident that there is almost directly opposite you in this irregular cavern, which is a little bit wider and diagonally anyway wider than it is long. But over there, pretty much directly across, is the way to go into more shadow. There really doesn't seem to be too much else. However, you can tell if you walk swiftly, there's going to be some chance of mishap. So is anybody going to try to walk quickly, or are you going to go a little slow?
I think Algerton will have to slow down. He's pretty physically inept, so he's going to take it cautiously, I think.
Okay.
Well, I think the most dangerous thing, so Benry is going to be trying to kind of keep pace with Vakia. And so that's the dangerous thing is if the Vakia decides to try and go fast, that's what would prompt him to try and do the same.
That's why I'm looking up Vakia's dexterity right now, for just that reason.
I guess I'd try and keep up with Binnery, I think. He's got the light source anyway. So I guess you're the one that pretty much decides however fast you go is however fast the rest of us can go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Binnery, dexterity times 3.
Well, I only just barely missed it, but it is not a success.
Well, yes, and I am rolling just wretchedly for Vakia tonight with a 99.
Oh.
Right. She's actually going to take an exceptionally bad fall.
Oh my
and that's
God.
just, and so that's going to actually be maximum damage for the damage that they have here.
She just died from falling before she gets into combat, poor woman.
All right. So yeah, she's like holding. She's really. I mean, she took it on the knee. That's full damage to a leg. So I'm going to say that she cracked the worst place on the knee that you possibly could. And you know what that's like? It's like your leg is paralyzed.
Yeah.
So she didn't take enough to disable the leg, but she's, it's real, but it's over. It took its limit, and she's like, rubbing it and unable to walk for a minute and stuff like that. June had taken her second bad fall of the night as well with also a plus 90 roll, and so Binri, you said you succeeded.
No, I failed.
You failed.
Mildly.
Right. Yeah, you guys are scrabbling around, and everybody realizes at that point, don't fucking run. I think everyone else, I mean, your dad, anyone else that I'm playing basically says, whoa, all right, we're going slower. So, Matthew, you said that Alkerton was taking his time, and
yeah, he's got dexterity of 7. She can't really
right,
risk it too
right.
much.
And Matthew, or sorry, Ian, I forgot, I didn't quite hear you. Did you proceed ahead full steam or not?
I think I was proceeding sort of originally along with Binry, but I didn't give it a roll. But I give it a roll.
Yeah, you.
No.
All right. Yeah.
I don't make the dex times 3.
Right.
That's quite hard, actually. Dex times 3.
Yeah. So it isn't very edifying. But I think we've all learned our lesson, have we? Okay. So as you proceed slowly through here, you also realize that you have made considerable noise.
Sure.
Well, not to be too, this way, that away, but as you proceed, things become extremely complex. The boulders come together again, so that you literally have to clamber to get places. And to make a long story short, you can either go off to the right at roughly the same level, or you can proceed, and then the passage will curl around and about in several different ways to go, one of which goes considerably deeper and under where you already are. So you've got literally 3 ways to go. I mean, the way I see it is you guys are going to proceed, especially with your limited light. You're going to proceed fairly cautiously to see what your options are. And at this point, I mean, it's not like anybody's descending on you and attacking you or anything like that. But if you want to go off to the right, you can let me know, or let me know if you guys proceed to the somewhat more complex series of passages next. By passages, again, sometimes they're open to the sky, sometimes they're not.
Yeah, that sounds like it's the, kind of the judgment we're using is what's the easy path to where
Carver
might be.
Yeah.
And I don't know, so that spiraling down thing sounds like that's, if I was a servant of Black Car, I'd dwell in the depths of the cave, wouldn't I?
Yeah, deeper, darker, I think is right.
Your logic seems fairly faultless.
Not that you're happy about it, right?
Not that I'm happy about it, exactly.
Okay. So as you do and head past, you are warned by your fetch, Matthew.
Yep.
He says, they've heard us. They're coming now. They're watching. And they and we are not. We're not going back safely.
Who's coming?
Says, the slaves, the captives, the dead, the
Taken?
No, that's something else.
Okay. So I will alert Jonathan and Alkerton Jonathan and Binry that my fetch is telling me that we might be under attack soon. Us to get ready.
What you begin to hear through the senses of your fetch that from behind you, from that passage that you guys didn't go into, things are swarming out of there. And when I say things, I mean they're spirits of some kind, spirits and worse.
Can we hide from them or evade them? Anyway?
Not really. No. I mean, but what your fetch did not warn you of imminent attack, simply that they were coming and following and knew you were here.
Okay.
So there is a horde of incorporeal menace at your backs now.
Can I try and communicate with them even?
Yes.
So I guess if Alcatan can, he'll try and offer any way to release them or help them in some ways.
Let's see. One moment, please. May need to help my wife in a moment.
Yeah, okay.
But okay, in fact, I'm going to make a promise.
I can always go and have a break for a drink or something.
Yeah, I didn't mean to take up all your whole night, and it looks like I am. But then again, here we go. So the clambering is fairly tough, but I think all of you have learned not to go jumping down into anything, and with a proper application of light and with a little bit of help. Now with with 6 people and this kind of terrain and really one reliable source of light, it's really not very easy. You guys have to work together. You guys really have to get into buddy mode, to make sure that everybody is traversing and not, stuck somewhere or, fetches up against something dangerous. Mind the rock, this here, step here, you okay back there, all that sort of thing.
Mm.
But as you go down, you're getting away from the ambient air. You're away from the environmental air. You are now going into an area which is distinctly more stale. And as I said, you have to go down through a jumble of rocks, and then it turns literally back. So you actually go back under the way that you had come. And it now it's you are in a tangle of very solid earth and roots and the protruding faces and bits of solid rocks. So that's what you're in now. And as you traverse further, I hate to keep doing this to you, but it's a real tangle in there, and pretty soon you guys are going to forget and get disoriented. About right now is where you start to worry about, do I really know I can get back from here? Especially when you come to a place where it's clear that you can go either left or right. And it's the same kind of terrain. This is, you're underground now. And it's not like a mine. It's more, again, like crevices, like a big crevice on its side or something, which is kind of the way that you guys are going. Much less trafficked.
Dinry might remember that somebody once told him to always look behind and see what things are going to look like when you're coming back the other way. But that may or may not help. But, to the extent we think this is the way, I mean, I guess in Binry's mind, if we start to not believe that somebody who's injured as badly as we think Anev was could go this way,
this actually isn't right as far as that goes. This isn't that bad compared to some.
then I guess Benry would think we just need to keep moving.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, you guys are totally stuck in this zone, aren't you? All right, let me look at my little notes here, figure out who's where.
I mean, given how hard it's turning out to be, it's not like I would think Benry would. Well, I mean, we don't really have a decision-making process here, but he would not be insistent that we have to keep going this way if somebody thinks they've got a better idea.
Yeah. Well, the important thing here is that from one of the ways to go, the way that would have been going right, actually now appears um, a rolling wave of of vapor, and that rolling wave of vapor is I wouldn't say concealing, but is enveloping a humanoid figure standing in it, and somewhat drifting, somewhat walking, and the and uh, it says out, put it out, put that out.
Light it stronger, yeah.
Um,
Do you know who this figure is? Are we guessing it's Carver?
Do,
Well,
do I
Jonathan-
recognise the figure at all?
Make a spirit lore roll.
Okay. Ooh, succeed. 22. Exciting.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Yes.
Made a roll.
Mm-hmm. This is
Cut the rest of us
this is a spirit that has been so ragged and so tormented that it is hardly capable of communication.
Right.
And what you see, I mean, you don't recognize the person, but you recognize that it was a shaman and has the aspect of a horribly drowned uh, uh, person. I mean, it looks like a drowned person,
Okay.
and especially one that's been underwater and badly treated by the water for some time, bloated and misshapen. The miasma that has approached it is damp and vile. Everyone is like, nasty water smell. And however, they cannot see it as well like you can. They cannot see that it is a person or was a person. And they cannot communicate with it. You can. Your fetch basically expands its power and prepares itself for spirit combat. The creature or being repeats, says, "Put that out, not here."
And they're referring to the lantern?
Not the lantern.
I think it's the magic glow of Binri.
Yeah, good.
well,
And there's no chance this is that I spelt it phonetically. So forgive me if I got it wrong. It's not connected to Reshahim La, who was being drowned and captured and things.
Well, what this is actually absolutely in line with what Rudiver had been describing to you.
Yeah.
This is what happens to the shamans of once. This is what happens to the shamans when gets, or when the captive version of Risha Himla gets her hands on them.
Right. Okay. There's no way I can kind of free this shaman, so it's a sort of a combat to the death, as it were.
Well, this is one of those things. RuneQuest is far less nuanced in its spirit interactions than HeroQuest is. So I may have to borrow a little bit from HeroQuest to manage this.
Sure,
At this
Ian won't
point,
mind.
all I can say right now is you may speak with it. So what do you? I think let's just continue. Let's take it from what you do.
Okay, I'll say we are not stopping the light. We're continuing on. Stand aside. I'll try and command it as much as forcefully as I can. It's about being a young lad.
Well, all right. That's actually not the worst thing you can do. And given that spirit lore roll, so you know what it is, you might even utilize the name of Vishay Himla.
Yeah, I can make any kind of references. Yeah.
I'll give you that recommendation based on that roll, on that spirit lore roll. Don't forget to check the success. That's a cool thing.
Yeah, no, whenever I get
That's an important skill to keep racking up.
Yeah,
So,
it's getting there.
In that case, what we have is your charisma.
Yes. Which is not too bad. 16 actually.
16 is really freaking good.
Yeah.
So this is pretty quite decent, and it's going to be actually against its it's actually going to be against its intelligence.
Okay.
So I have to roll its intelligence. Wait. I actually have it right here. Haha.
Prepared.
Yes. Fan-fucking-tastic. And so yeah, go ahead and make your we're using the opposition table, the the matrix thing.
Overall,
you got
not
a 16?
too bad.
What you
So
got a 16?
31.
31.
Sorry.
Well,
yeah.
Geez. You yeah, it fades away and back and tells you as it's doing so as it fades back further, you barely hear the word please.
We will try and free you from your torment.
Right. Well, that was actually a pretty good, turn undead roll basically on your part.
Yeah, I'm keen to avoid any fights we can avoid.
Yeah. And you will hear.
What was that?
It was a former shaman, I think.
These were the spirits of the dead that have been trapped in water or something. And okay, yeah, I seem to remember this.
That's what you want to avoid, Jonathan.
Isn't that what you said happened to Eben's mentor?
Yes, it is.
That's correct. Yeah. This could have been him, in fact, actually. Yeah.
It wasn't. You would have recognized it. Yeah,
okay.
That was the one that you've seen before. This was an older one. This has been going on for some time.
Yeah.
I
presume that may have what happened to Alcaton, perhaps.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You will hear a scream of frustration from the way that the thing retreated.
Okay.
It's Anu's voice.
Ah.
She'd sent it to go get you. And the panicked running, like a stumbling run.
Good. Is she?
Well, that's good news. It means we're in the right direction.
Yeah.
Right. So you're actually going to follow the way that the thing went and retreated. If you're going to follow that.
Sounds like it. Yeah.
Right. And you're going to go into an area which is so. You're immediately almost going to go to your knees and stumble because there's so many like body parts and bones and stinking old. It's not new. Stinking old, soft dust and scraps. It's like a bone pit of bodies that have long. Yeah, it's not fresh decay. It's not like immediate vomit inducing decay, but it is stale and old and vile, and you just don't want any of this slightly clingy, soft gunk to get on you. And it's the kind of thing where if you try to brush it, it just smears on you, And so yeah, you got to kind of get through there, and that's why it was easy to hear Anna running, because she actually had to clatter and shove her way through this part to get out of here. To your left, which is opening up into a big kind of chamber and is full of all this gunk, is you can all hear the voices now, the voices of of who knows what, saying who
Okay.
knows what. And you can see that there's one other passage out of here, as well as, I mean, I'll tell you now, as well as the passage you could have taken to get in here, but that's far away. But right here is clearly where, based on what you heard, where Aniv had gone. And she can't have gone far. No way.
And Bakir, is she with us, or what's her current state?
She's keeping up, but is currently, now she is accepting help. So at least two people
Okay.
are supporting her. She can walk, but not, but it hurts.
Okay.
And
I can't cast heal multiple times, can I, Ron? Can I
No.
use a few points of no?
You can use a heal on. Well, wait.
I think you get to use heal once on a wound, don't you? And then it's natural healing after that or something.
I'll have to double check that. I actually think what you can do is put on multiple heals, but they will not have the salubrious effect of a big heal. Like you can attach a limb.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah. But that doesn't. 6 ones won't do that.
No,
I think they will, however, give you the 6 hit points back. They just can't have the quantum effect that the bigger heals
can have. An individual hit location may be healed once every 5 melee rounds.
Okay, well, yeah, but that's that's a minute.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in the kind of time scale we're looking at, I mean, if you go like 59 elephant, 58 elephant, 57 elephant, whatever, and just wait until you can do another one, I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Surely there's if there's worth investing a few points of heal in there just to make it a bit more combat worthy.
Right. Feel free.
Well, and actually, the thing I wasn't noticing, you can actually you do apply the heal directly to the body part, so getting a little more function back in her leg would probably be very helpful.
Yeah.
Right. At the very least, it means it's a little more of a buffer if she takes damage there again.
Yeah, so I'll be guided by you, Rob. I guess maybe if you've got a bit of a time, Alcaton is happy to invest a few points.
You can get at least 3 points into her.
Okay, great. I'm trying to help with it.
Just
I'll take
drop
that
your
off.
power.
Yep.
So
cool.
So then when you come again, it's clear where Aniv has gone. There's a way to go, which leads you into more caverns, but there's also basically to your right there is a phenomenally terrifying, only an idiot would do this, enormous pit.
Oh God.
And
a bellbog in it.
Yeah. And
fly.
As you come to it, this is where Aniv has gone. And it's actually quite strange. There are several openings that are connected by a rickety bridge that goes directly over it, and they all meet in the center. Your opening is not one of them. However, stretching from these bridges is a tissue of spider webs that do extend all the way to the walls, all the way around. And the
whether there are spider webs, one would assume there is also a spider.
I was waiting for a spider web of rope or a spider web but no, apparently not.
And Aniv is doing the insane act of actually going from where you are, the opening and ledge that you're standing on, doing the insane act of going around the edge on the webs to get to where a bridge emerges from another opening. You can barely see her. Your light isn't that good, Binri. And also, however, the air is fresh again. There's fresh air from the top coming down, even though you're still pretty deep.
So how far is barely see her? How far away would I put her?
Say that again.
How far away would I put her with barely seeing her?
25 feet.
Oh, okay.
30.
Well, so in other words, in theory, completely within range of a binding spell.
Why, yes.
I would like when I actually see her, I would like to try and slow her down by putting a binding spell on her.
Cast.
So
Your power.
my powers, well, it'll be 16 once I spend one to cast the spell.
Well, you don't. You use the power at the point of casting, so 17. And
Yeah.
then
Okay.
and so yeah, that's actually pretty good. Forgotten how good you were at this. What are you looking up, Matthew?
Yeah, I was looking at this other spell I've got, Demoralize, whether that was anything that could be useful. But obviously let Binri try first.
Yeah, it's not that bad actually.
Yeah, that's with a battle magic spell.
So I get a 41 on my roll. That's actually, I don't know how does.
I know her power. You've hit.
Okay. Okay. So then half speed is the
Right. Mm-hmm.
effect of binding.
Mm-hmm.
And call out, you know you can't hide. You should face this.
Is there any reason why I couldn't whip off another slingshot at her?
No,
Vakia
you
holds
down.
up. Vakia stops you.
Okay. Because she wants to do the job herself.
She's got the bow case.
All right.
Right. So Matthew, you want to take a shot for the demoralize?
Yeah, I was going to ask. I mean, sorry if you've shown this really wrong. Can I use my fetch to cast it because they've got my power is quite low after the healing now.
Yes, you can.
Whereas I think the fetch's power is pretty. Yeah, 19. My bound spirit.
I know.
So if I can get the spirit to cast Demoralize me, that would be cool.
That sounds good.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, make a percentage roll.
Ooh, 04.
Ooh. All right. So she is bound and demoralized, and she actually gives a horrified. She knows she's like trapped there, and gives off a wail of despair.
Yeah,
Very
so her
human,
attacks are at half
very
value.
human, non-defiant, despairing cry. And to the extent where she starts to let go of the web.
Uh-oh.
So at this point, Vakia says, nah.
Now would be a good time for Vakia not to roll 90.
Yes, seriously.
Maybe she got all her bad rolls out on the.
Right. Well, there is a discharge of magic. She puts some power into this one, and gets some relevant bonuses. And so, given the amount of damage done so far, given the roll, let's find a hit location. I'm getting better at this. Ooh, not bad. The basically the arrow pierces Aniv. It doesn't like center shooter or anything like that. It's not a one shot kill, but it does force her. It actually, you know what? You're guys going to be interested in this. It hits that same arm with a 3, and by doing so, basically ruins the arm forever. Now it is maimed, technically severed. And so with that in place, that means there's no way she can hang on to the web. So at that point, so Vakia nails her with the arrow in what may be a lucky shot, may be perhaps a somewhat sadistic, shot. And although she makes one frantic attempts to hold on with one hand, she cannot. And there's about a second and a half of the continued cry of despair. and what is an extremely decisive crunch far below.
Excellent.
Jonathan, I think your problems with the cult may have died with her.
Now, let's take a look at where you are and where I know things are. Because although certain elements of the textual site are easy to use, my modifications for our particular scenario are harder to keep in mind because those are written in, for no good reason, the most insanely tiny scrawl possible.
Don't know why I just moved closer to see that.
I don't know why I didn't write it big. Telling you.
Oh.
So, that puts you guys here. Well, of course. Where else? Oh, and it makes lovely sense too. I'm going to post this. I'm going to scan it and post it.
Mm-hmm.
It makes perfectly good sense. And it's cool as shit. Who do you think is now standing at the juncture of the three bridges over the center of the chasm? Considering that one of those bridges leads to the holy places. Now, where you're standing has no bridge to that spot, so it's actually literally, the bridge is literally at right angles to you. It's full length, side to side, and you can see there's another opening that the third goes to, and Carva is there. Carva, as you understood it, was a girl of teen years, but that was some time ago, but it wasn't long enough for her to appear as aged and withered as she does. And she's swinging, or has, in a kind of idly swinging way, what you and I would call a war club. A long stick with a fairly nasty business end, with sort of a axe-like weight to it. And she is unclothed, but her skin and hair are tattered, and the hair is extensive enough that she is, and there are flaps that you're not sure are just detached skin or are they something she's wearing. And the light's not really good enough to tell either. You can see that there is no face from where you are right now, and the limitations of your light. There is no face. There you can see her mouth and you can see her chin, but all this is just one black circle.
Okay.
Nothing else. And she says to you, what news?
So now would be a good time for any insights from the conversation with my father to come up.
I had forgotten to follow up with that. I'm going to give you a quick comment on that, which is that the quick comment is that Carvo was basically, how am I going to put this? I talked about how lonely she was, and I talked about how alienated she was. What matters, as far as your father understands it, because he was very young at the time, what matters, as far as he understands it, is that she never came back. I mean, the idea was that there was a danger to to Green Rock. There was a danger from War Chief bands coming and raiding it, and that she had wielded the power of against them. But in doing so, basically rendered uninhabitable, rendered Green Rock uninhabitable. More importantly, she also, the price that was paid. I mean, basically, the people have to. Already ruled. People had to pay with disease. They had to pay with compliance. In order to live. But the vengeance of Carva upon people she didn't like was very terrible. And so when she basically, retreated into the dark, everyone said, we're going to move down to that intersection. We're going to stay there instead.
I was kind of curious about how Jonathan was taking the fall of Aniv here.
Yeah, sorry, I had to fix my data problem halfway through, so that's why I vanished suddenly. I wasn't responding.
Yeah, no problem.
Well, I think he there's a certain amount of what's going on for Jonathan here is that the people who he fails probably, I suspect, that led him down the dark path. He has had some catharsis around their fate for that.
Yeah,
and I don't think he feels particularly that he almost betrayed everybody because of their influence, and that they met their just desserts, really. So I think he feels a certain sense of justice.
Yeah. Now, of course, the problem we're facing now is there's this incredibly dangerous thing that is Carva,
right.
that we have no real skill or talent to know how to.
No,
control.
I mean, I know that she, from my experience so far, she's a dangerous priestess of who is capable of summoning quite powerful servants in the form of these birds that attack you, shades. I mean, disease. I mean, effectively, nature and darkness and disease are kind of hers to command a bit.
We interact with Doom Direct?
Well, I don't know. In a straight-up fight, obviously, she's going to basically, presumably, summon all sorts of magic to work against us. But at the same time, I guess, unsupported, we might simply be able to overwhelm her. Although she's, going to be pretty powerful. I do wonder whether the other option is this question of whether, are we looking to restore balance? In the sense, do we believe that she's part of the balance of a functioning society? Because we kill her, if you wipe her out, does that disturb the balance with the chief and everything else? Is the bad thing that's happened is effectively that she has become the sole kind of force here.
Yeah, I mean, the village kind of put its faith in and she took control over how that showed up. And
right.
Then actually,
so
Aniv took control
of war
her.
Or conflict anymore, but the price of that was sacrifices. And is it better? And if we just finish the witch off, is that as bad as the witch finishing off everybody else?
The other insight about Carva is that she, or about the situation really, is that some of the shamans, or at least one of the shamans, the one that your father remembers from when he was a boy, had done his best to try to help mend the situation, to try to talk with her. And unfortunately, that's when the shamans were squished and subjugated. And so, yeah, this
implying that
she's badass.
it was caused by.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we try and get her back to? I mean, you mentioned that in my notes. I can't remember where I got this from, Ron. That there was a previous priest called Bet, and Carver went on a different path, the way of Black Car.
That's right. Yeah, that Bet Bet had been the priestess of or priest of before that. What has become of Bet, you do not know. You do not know quite what the interaction was between Bet, Carva, and that shaman.
Yeah.
But whatever it is, it's down here in the darkness.
We should try and, try and talk to her, I suppose. I don't think I was asking the others when you were away, Ron, can we communicate with direct in any way, or is that just...
You can go wandering on the spirit plane, go talk to a god whose place of power you're in if you want to about right now.
It might be quite dangerous.
That is actually in the rules for, even in RuneQuest, early RuneQuest, the rules for encountering the god on the spirit plane are there.
Maybe that's plan B. C.
I'm prepared as GM to cope with that decision on your part.
Thank you.
Well, so where it has opened is with her asking what news.
Yeah.
And certainly I think Vikia's not going to answer. Probably June's not going to answer. So the four remaining, the three of us and my father, will kind of look at each other, trying to decide who's going to answer.
June is looking too, because she's kind of got an answer in mind.
Oh, okay.
Well, can we trust June?
She's not unintelligent, but she is.
Handle this.
Yeah, she's not unintelligent, but she is, if you will, somewhat cursed with honesty.
Yep. Well, we each may have different answers to that question. Maybe we should ask her if she's willing to hear all of us before reacting.
I mean, could we take the position, I guess, are we being asked to take the position of Carver and act as intermediary? And maybe,
Wait, did I get that Binri said, will you hear all of us, or something like that?
Yeah, he did.
Okay.
Yeah.
She will answer anyone. Anyone. Is everyone safe?
Who are you asking after?
She says, I don't trust Oniv. I don't trust her.
Do I
need to come out? Do I need to come again? I will. She holds up her hand and says, I will.
We wish to speak to you about the village. Come and speak to us.
Tell.
The village.
She says, you're mine. You belong to the goddess. You tell me now.
We want a different relationship between the village and the god and
Oniv is no more.
She smiles and says, "She belongs here." You don't see you can see her smile. You can see the mouth, so you can see the sort of wicked smile, and says, "She belongs here."
But she is gone.
No, gone. That's what I protect you from. I protect you from Ross. I protect you from being taken. One here, one there, perhaps. But that's all. The goddess rules here, not Eros.
Yes, and you have
My
protected.
the children of the goddess, the children of come to her. They come here. You felt them. She gestures at you. Little shaman, you felt
Yes,
them.
we saw the
You know they're
spirits.
here.
I
You
do.
know that they belong to the goddess. They are safe with her. They are not taken.
And do you
You
remember?
will thank her.
We do thank for all she does for us.
We do, yeah.
She protects the
That-
village.
We understand that
June 2 is like,
nature
what?
provides.
You know?
No, we understand that nature provides, and we understand that it is we have to give as well as take. But Honor than the others used you and the goddess to gain power through fear. They did not treat the goddess with respect, and they attacked our community and hurt many.
Fear is her due. And
It is.
And if her hand stretches out over the village, it will. Dying for her is release and safety from Heros. You will be thankful. You will be thankful for every disease she brings. You will be thankful for it all. And should there be danger, should the chieftain come again, should there be danger from somewhere else, then I, who walks with Black Car, will come, and you will see again what becomes of those who threaten from outside.
Those who are here, we have seen them. I heard Alkerton speaking with one. They suffer. They are not happy. They do not take comfort here.
Those aren't the children of the goddess. Those are the fools who would traffic with the spirits and speak with them and dream of false times from the past. They are slaves of my slave. But they are not eaten either.
Carver, we wish you to return to the ways of Bet and dispense the wisdom and protection of in that manner.
You would bargain with me?
If you think it is possible, yes.
Will you walk with me into her grasp and stand before her judgment?
If it would help the village?
For I would not speak for her. I have been granted everything I wanted and asked for. Your eyes are adjusting a bit in this light. It's pretty appalling what has happened to her body.
Yeah.
And but what she's just said is that this is what she wanted.
Yeah.
She's been given what she wanted. And she says, but I will not choose for her. Come with me.
Is that for all of us or just to Alcaton?
She points straight to Alkerton.
Can I speak out of character as the others,
Yes,
or is that?
Yeah, you go right ahead.
Sorry. What do you think, guys? I'm just trying to avoid a straight fight, but I'm happy to sacrifice Alcaton if that helps.
Well, I mean, to some extent, it's unsurprising. We need to renegotiate somehow, and having that happen via Alkerton seems completely reasonable. The issue would become, what parties really should be at the table, and how could they be? I mean, in some ways, this is a village decision, and we have a very small subset here.
It's mighty democratic of you.
Yeah, well.
Yeah. I guess the other thing is, of course, the traditional setup, obviously the chieftain and the witch are here along with the shaman in terms of the balance, aren't they? But we don't have the chieftain anymore, so I guess the shaman is really the only balance against the witch that we have, which is obviously why she wanted you out of the way. Well, on everything else wanted you out of the way, because then they have free reign. There was no check on that. There was no checks and balances on their power. Obviously, we live in the wilderness, therefore, it would seem impossible for us to deny the existence of and to fight completely against her.
She smells again and says, Jonathan, I know you.
You do.
And she shakes her head and says, Shaman, go home. Go home. Go home. He will tell you what the goddess says when he returns to you.
I thought we were going to bargain with her carver.
She says, you cannot bargain with me. I have nothing to offer you but death in the dark. I would turn that upon the enemies of the village, not upon the village itself. The goddess exacts her price from the village. But Jonathan is hers. Jonathan is hers. She will speak to him. You, she would rend. You, she would drown.
True.
Through her slaves. Jonathan, do you know? She sort of smiles and says a little bit, did anyone ever really like you? Come with me into the dark. She says, I hate, and I will never say I hate too much. But I know that I cannot walk into the village. I could not control the hand of Carl there, nor would I wish to.
Okay, I think Jonathan thinks. I mean, he's definitely he's become more empowered, I think, on this journey, and previously, I think he feels he was at the mercy of the fate of others, and he's let everyone down. Maybe this is the moment he has to step forward. So he does. He says, "Okay, I will come. I will come and I will bear this. I will bear the message.
So a couple of things will happen. Vakia will scream no and try to grab at you. She's just she just adopted you after all, and is
Yeah.
doesn't want to let you go. And the and
Binri had a slightly milder version of that in mind himself, but
okay.
I don't want to interrupt you.
Carva leans forward, flings her hands back almost to waist level, leans forward almost at waist level, flings her hands behind her, and issues a bellowing howl like straight at you, which is full of magic, just full of magic, and the swarm of spirits from behind you, from that area behind you, wave over you guys from behind and swarm into the pit and toward Carva in just a miasm of torment and blackness and secrets and the past, swirling you along with them, so that you are tumbled forward onto the bridge with Carva, which is swaying dangerously and creaking and wretched support of any kind, and you are seized in some kind of strong grasp which is impossible to describe and swept into the recesses of the dark. Vakia is again shouting, "Jonathan!" after you. And the yeah, the danger you guys are in right now is profound. The unleashing of the spirits is an imminent danger to you.
Can we see Jonathan, or has he been lost to sight?
He's been lost to sight.
Can I sense if he's still in the same kind of spirit play?
The darkness that emerged or that formed in that howl is way too much for the light you're carrying. In fact, it will wink out.
Can I sense his spirit? And I don't know if he's still with us in the kind of mortal realm, or has he left?
I see what you mean. You would actually have to send your fetch after her, and I can tell you this much: it does not want to go.
Okay.
Realizing that this may also be a terrible, terrible idea, but that is there any chance, as this was happening, that Binri could reach out and smear his goo onto Jonathan, put the glow on him as he's being dragged away?
Make a dexterity ×3.
Yep, that hasn't been going very well for me.
No. But the ×3 seems like a kind of tough version of the dex ×5, which is a little more standard. So,
yeah, I'm not quite that fast. I reach to do it, but I am not quite that fast.
And besides, the light winks out at about that point, or just before, anyway. So you guys are there, more or less, completely in the dark. I was kind of expecting at least one stickman with their funky lights to be helping a bit here too, but they're not there. So therefore, now.
So then the last thing from Binri would be screaming out as Jonathan's being torn away that the answer, at least now, is yes. People really like you.
The problem that you're facing is that your character's perception is limited, so I'm trying to keep my description of what's happening in the same language, that corresponds. All I can say is that the closeness, the darkness, the imminent sense of threat, the distinctive feeling that you had when the shade attacked.
Oh God!
All of those are all of you recognize it. The four of you that encounter the shade all, June even says one of them is here. Your father says, get moving. He's rapping in a voice of authority to all of you. He says, get moving. Hold each other, grab each other, stay together, feel the walls.
Can I use Spirit Shield to protect us at all?
You can cast Spirit Shield.
Can that be extended over other people, or just is it personal level?
Personal. Although would cast it on someone else is an interesting question. I will not review the rules at the moment, but should you have to choose between yourself and another person, then we can review the rules to see. That's at a moment's glance, it strikes me as something you could do.
Okay,
but I'll have to double check.
It's just PowerPoint. So you could do it on other people, but it's another 1 point per casting, basically.
Right.
Okay. I think if I can, then as we're leaving, I'll try and cast it on everybody.
All right. You're going to pound down your power and get Spirit Shield up. You know what? That's a really good idea, because that's going to keep the heat off you guys for a significant period.
If it does a bit of slight defense.
Right. Knock down your power significantly.
There's 4 of us, aren't there? Minus.
No,
yes.
There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of you.
That's okay.
June, my father.
June, Bakia. No, 6.
Oh, yeah.
June. And no, 5, because Jonathan's not there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So 3 NPCs and you 2. So
Yeah.
so yes, you guys are
Binri will
working
be
your way back through the difficult passages that I described.
Yeah, Binri will be calling out, no, we have to wait for Jonathan to come back. We have to wait for Jonathan to come back, but not really
But not
resisting
getting too far
hard.
with it, yeah.
Not
running
really
away, saying, let's wait.
That's really
not really being willing to stay when people move a few
Right.
feet away from him and abandon the group. He's kind of staying, and actually he's also trying to use his shield as best as he can to protect
I
others
came back
as well
for you
as
so many
himself.
times, Binri.
Now, so here is the next step, which is actually quite important. June says to you guys at one point, Binri and June are practically body to body as you're struggling through all this. And June realizes it's you, and then says quickly to you and says, That's it? We let the witch win? What about Nia? Binri?
I don't know how we can call her here.
The same, while this conversation is going on, we will continue it. The same shamanic spirit that you confronted before comes in and basically confronts you guys, blocking your path. And it says, and you can hear it, Matthew, it says, Children of be well and behave. And then it says, it says, I'm trying to figure out the right language. Vakia. And it's a predatory sound, and it's going to like dive down upon you, and ghostly dive down upon Vakia to enter into primal spirit combat with her. And so it has no intention. The spirits of have no intention of letting Vakia leave here alive. And,
Can I help defend her, or
just a moment? And the spirit is communicating as well. If there's any way that it can do so, how can it? It is shamanic spirit. Technically, can contact the mortal plane as well. It will speak only so that Binri and June understand, and it says, "Return with them and return to her." with the implication, this one,
Mm-hmm.
that's over. This one dies for This one drowns. That's it. This one drowns. And Vakia, englobed in spirit combat, instantly starts to choke and drown. We will enter into those roles in a second.
Yeah. So I assume there's nothing
what I'm
physically.
saying, right? Correct.
Yeah.
The deal is clear. Matthew and Adar are free to go.
Mm-hmm.
Binri and June are also free to go, should they at this time renounce their layman status to Neon.
Yeah.
And to embrace entirely, probably at initiate level, or at least belonging layman level, right now.
And so Binri's answer, and I'm not thinking of how to demonstrate it, but his answer is essentially that no, we weren't going to reject entirely, but we required that the relationship be changed. That has not happened. I do not accept. I will fight here rather than let that happen. So trying to convey both defiance, but not absolute defiance. I haven't quite figured that one out, but that's his intention. Is certainly not going to abandon Vakia. I wasn't completely sure what was happening with Jonathan, so I wasn't sure if that was abandonment or not. But now it's clear. Now it's completely clear.
June will, in a derogatory fashion, proclaim her loyalty to Vakia and to Nia.
Yeah. I think Jonathan willingly volunteered,
right,
from what you saw, rather than him being unwillingly taken. So I think that don't get counts as abandoned unless you think that he was insane when he made that choice. But
yeah.
Now, so I need to know.
But now, of course, I'm left with I have got no clue on how to defend or how to help Vakia.
Right. And Adar, holds your hand for a second and says, I have to go back to Greenwalk Way. I have to go home. Says, join me when you can.
I think she said that Jonathan would be heading there too after.
He says,
if I don't make it back, take care of him.
We'll survive. And he says again, just remember, your way is the light. I won't forget. What do you do, Matthew?
I'm going to try and, if I'm allowed, mechanically join Vakia in combat to defend her. Pretty weak power at the moment, but whether my fetch can help.
All right. To attempt to join into that basically renders you physically helpless, so that when the wooden creatures, the skeletal weird wooden creatures emerge, literally the roots shrug themselves out of the walls, to manifest as semi-humanoid shapes with loops of roots and other semi-human simulations, to seize you and carry you along. There's not much you can do about it. Vakia loses a point of power in that little interaction that I just rolled her for. You can tell that she's losing.
Are we completely unaware of what's happening with Alkerton at this point?
With Alkerton, no, you can see
Yeah.
the wooden men are doing so, and they are ushering and shoving at your father as well.
Well, so I can try and intervene and knock them away from Alkerton. Try and bash my shield and keep them away from him.
Okay. Go ahead and roll.
It's not an awesome roll, but I think that's because I leveled up in that last time. That may be a success.
All right.
It's definitely a parry, but I have a different number for the attack with the shield. 35. I'm at 35. So I hit exactly the number.
Fantastic. Okay, so you're bashing at it and you're keeping their hands off. You're keeping their at least one's wooden hands off of Alkerton.
Yeah.
More of them are coming and grabbing at you as well. But the effect is very different. The ones grabbing at you are keeping you here. The ones grabbing at Alkerton are going to pull him along. At the moment, however, Alkerton is free. What do? You said you're going to hit the spirit combat yourself?
For Vakia?
Yeah.
To support her or attack the spirit attacking whatever I can allow to do. Yeah.
The light is giving you the most terrifying weird hairdo right now.
Oh yes, I think I've turned the lights off. Yes, I got my little one in with.
You're just really, really interesting looking. Okay, so what we have is the following. This is actually working out very well, especially because, thank God, strike rank is not particularly relevant at this time. Strike rank works really well when you have like this guy who's this big fighting that guy with that weapon who's this big, and you have stated like tactical action. Strike rank works great for kind of this confused shit in the dark. It's like, everybody just roll. We'll work it out. So you are going to be hit hard by spirit combat of your own. So Matthew, go ahead and make your roll of attack.
Am I rolling with me or with the fetch?
No, you're rolling with you.
Goodness.
Yeah, because you're under attack.
I've only got effective power of 7.
All right then.
Because all those.
Well, you do have a point of spirit shield.
Yes.
Oh yeah, but he is up against more than one spirit at this time.
Oh dear. Okay. 94.
Oh goodness. All right. Well, you're going to be hit for a point of power. I'm going to drop to 6. And as you can, and they're not trying to kill you. They're actually trying to usher you out. So what they're doing is, and again, RuneQuest is a little bit non-nuanced with this. It's all just about driving your opponent into the drain. So it's not, to possess them in this case. But they're not aiming at that. They actually want you functional. They want the spirit. They want the spirit man out there in the village doing his job. So that means that they are basic. I'm going to have to interpret it that they are hammering you rather than just. The more they win, the more they get what they want, which is to get you the hell out. That's
fair enough.
That's what I'm aiming
at.
Now, so that while that is underway, and Vakia realizes that she's losing. She's outclassed, she's outgunned, and is going to. This is an extremely long shot. She rolls a 5.
Yay.
Ooh.
0-5.
On?
An initiative god can call for divine intervention.
Wow.
They have to roll their power or less. Which she just did.
And what that means is
the area just above you, the area, the whole complex of rock and tumble and cavern that you're embedded in right now, in the immediate area right there, is blasted open to the sky. And the light that floods in is not the kind of light that any of you are used to or know about or have ever felt. except maybe a little teeny tiny, the barest whisper of it when you were practicing swords with Vakia, which I did mention. But here it's overwhelming. There is literally a shocking strike down upon the earth from whatever source this may be. And the unbearable scrutiny of you, basically, Vakia, Binri, and June, dissolve in the light. So you will reappear at the temple of Nea that she had mentioned earlier, far away. And Vakia's power is diminished down to the level that she rolled. So is that the way it works, or is it the other way around? But either way, I'll have to look it up. It doesn't matter. But if she had rolled precisely her power would have disappeared, and she would have basically died and become part of Nea, although she would have got her miracle. If she rolls under her power, then she either loses the difference or she loses what she rolls. I can't remember which. I think she loses what she rolls. And so she'll lose 5 points of power permanently. So yes, but the three of you will basically reform at that temple in a somewhat destructive blast of light. It's not, you don't beam there, okay? There is an explosion.
So Matthew vanished in a twisty, turny darkness. I think that was simulating my experience, basically.
Matthew,
as a sort of robot vanishing into the twisty, turny darkness.
If you want to, this is so disorienting. I'm going to say that, and all the spirits are fled. All the spirits are just fled. So you and Adar, Benry's dad, are the only two who are left at this point. You are faced without an opponent. There's no spirit to fight right here. Your fetch as well.
And I'm outside altogether.
Well, the area has been blasted open. If you clamber up, you'll kind of be on top of Green Rock, looking down at Green Rock Village. Or you could work your way back through one or two remaining passages to get out the way you came through the cave. Doesn't really matter.
Okay.
You're well aware, however, that going into any of the borders or passages that you had not gone into would be very much dangerous.
Yeah. Binri will
I'm kind of amazed at that divine intervention.
Once a few, yeah, and you know, it's one of those things that a lot of old games sort of had, but RuneQuest actually has fully fleshed out, and yeah,
no screwing around, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Binri will have a moment kind of a relief to be here, and then he'll be kind of, unhappy, and where's Jonathan? Where's Alcreton? What's happening at the village? Why am I here? This is wrong. This is not what I wanted. But
well, at this point, being dumbfounded, I think, especially because you literally felt the touch of Nea there.
Yeah,
I mean, that was divine intervention. That's not just runes. That's not just rune magic.
Yes, yes. So he will have that reaction and then feel guilty about having that reaction because, my gosh, I just got pulled out of the fire by a god. Okay, and so, but.
And so
I guess I'm establishing some conflict about his reaction to this.
Right. So, Matthew, I think we're done with kind of Alcreton's story, unless there's something specific you want to do.
No, sorry, but I'm gonna have to head off. I've got an early start.
Yeah, I understand, but what I'm saying is that that I think that Alcreton is we're done with Binri for now.
Okay.
And we're kind of done with Alcreton for now.
Cool.
The end of our adventure, if you will.
Excellent, thank you.
And then and
You can
Jonathan,
torment.
I have notions regarding the interaction, but Ian, do you want to follow up on that with me, maybe in a one-on-one later to finish it
Yeah,
out?
maybe that's a good idea, right?
Yeah.
But gives us both a chance to think about where we want that to go.
Yeah, exactly.
And could you maybe post it in email or?
Well, no, I'm going to be I'm going to be putting all this online. We'll record.
Cool. It'd be good to hear what happens to Jonathan afterwards.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that'll be that. Also, this served as quite a powerful playtest for these weird little notions of mine about this setting. So
it's fantastic setting.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No,
I think it's been very very interesting.
Yeah. It's been.
This is definitely a very interesting and not completely dissatisfying place to be. So.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's very nice dramatically. Very nice.
It's also I think I've really the system has really taught me some things. The system in and of itself, even though it's got its weird little corners and edges and redundancies and things you can't do, and then too many ways to do certain things and all that shit. And I can really see why they changed the rules about power and magic for later editions, because this one is very, very clunky and overly consequential, really, in a lot of ways for the practitioners. But still, I mean, you can tell this is the beating heart of role playing as an activity. You know, this is one of the great well springs right here. So it's my thinking.
Yeah,
Yeah,
produces really cool
it's
stuff.
definitely interesting to play it again after a while, and you can see, like you said, it's got lots of idiosyncrasies. You can see certainly some of its strengths, particularly around, you can see why it ended up being quite successful for things like Call of Cthulhu, particularly.
Right.
Because that sense
also Call of Cthulhu has a certain. You can say, well, are we doing it right? Yes, it went right because it went the way it's supposed to go. There's a certain. I mean, I may be going a little too far with this, but especially, I certainly don't want to disrespect Sandy Peterson, but Call of Cthulhu is lacking in vision. It's almost a little too much theater instead of role playing. In terms of the way it's supposed to go. That's my opinion, which is a little judgmental. It's just, I can't see how I would ever be surprised or inspired by playing Call of Cthulhu. I would love the homage, I would love the theatricality, or I would love the imagery, I would love the literacy, right, regarding specific works of Lovecraft. I might really enjoy the mashup. Ooh, we did it in a spaceship, that kind of thing. But or the depth to which somebody went to set up what it was like when we go to Hong Kong. But I don't think I would be surprised and inspired the way I am by this stuff.
Yeah, I guess, and I think that's the original point. But I guess my point was more in the same way. I played with Matthew at some point last year, Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay for the first time, and that's very focused on these kind of like almost quite dark, battling against cults kind of sort of thing.
Wait,
and
which game
one of
was
the
it?
things I noticed in both of them was that the threat of lethality in the game.
Oh yeah,
does help with that fear factor of, well, there are things that are essentially just too powerful, or there are dangers that essentially, I really am quite vulnerable to, and that lack of a kind of heroic status to the characters does mean that you think twice about, going into that dark room with those cultists, because really that might be the last thing you ever do, right?
Right.
There's that aspect to it, which I think I'd forgotten quite how strong that can be when you're playing RuneQuest.
Yeah. No, I agree. I've definitely felt it for your characters and also for some of mine. And also what's interesting because of that is the interesting contrast between our reactions to different characters' fates. I actually found a lot of pathos in Yoreen, for example, and all of you just hated her guts by that point. At the end, you guys are like ready to see her just gone, and I'm like, well, but
Yeah.
not that I wanted you to do differently. It's just that I had a relationship to the character, and the fatality, the lethality of the system in that regard affected me as GM as much as it affected you guys as players.
What was in my mind a lot was the kind of, there's always the Star Wars thing. Very powerful. So I still had sympathy actually.
Yeah.
Towards the end. Yeah. They were so powerfully kind of characterized.
Yeah. Well, it also was this game was a really nice example of everybody bringing a willingness to see how much they cared about their characters, and then when they discovered who they cared about and what they cared about their character for or other characters, bringing it into play so that everybody else could see it. And I really liked that. So
yeah,
that matters.
I agree.
And that's nice. And sometimes these sort of sparse rules make those kind of things a bit easier to do, I think. You don't get so preoccupied on numbers and
yeah, I go back and forth in different ways. At the time, I don't know if you're familiar with the game Shadow of Yesterday.
No.
It became very influential around 2003, and yet I was a little shocked at how many people encountering it would use its behavioral cycles. Its points for motivations and its points for the changes that could bring in your character. I never could understand really how, but it certainly, for some people, created more of a hamster wheel of numbers that lost their investment in the character.
Yeah.
And I am not the kind of person who says that that's guaranteed, that, it's better just to know your character's dexterity and strength and forge on from there, but I'm not saying it can't work that way either, because it can. So, exactly. I am a big believer in that something has to be emergent. That if the psychologies and the physicalities of the characters are all accounted for, then there's nothing to do. There's nothing to discover. There's nothing to watch emerge in a softer and less quantified form. So Gordon and I were talking a little bit about that last Monday. Excellent.
Great.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great night.
Cheers. Hope we can play again soon. Cheers. Thank you.
Yeah.